Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Relationships, Romance, and Propaganda with Imani, Shakur, and this crazy, sexy, cool Rachel K. Burke.
That's a TLC album. Yep. Crazy, sexy, cool.
Yep, that wrote these magnificent books, Love Bites and Sound Bites, a rock and roll love story. Check these out on Google. Google them. You can get those on Amazon and a few other places. Rachel is
had a few mimosas today.
Yeah, it's all good. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, we are Relationship, Romance, and Propaganda Podcast, the sexiest podcast on the planet. We expose the truth and broadcast the lies. We talk about everything, regarding relationships. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. It's ISENT Group Digital. And where you get your podcasts, we are available everywhere. So just type us in, whether you're on iHeart or Google or Spotify, type us in, subscribe, and we appreciate the love. Hope you enjoyed the last two shows. 2 weeks ago we had Aubrey and Jason on talking about open relationships. That was a very interesting show.
Yeah, they were great.
And 2 weeks later, I'm still grappling with that question they asked me.
Yeah, you're gonna be thinking about that for a long time, I think.
Then we talked about rape culture the week after that, and I shared something very personal that I don't even share with ladies until after I've known them for a couple of months. So it was big for me to.
I don't tell my story either to
about
most
having
people.
My mom and my dad and how I came to existence and stuff.
Yeah.
I'll open up a little bit. Today we're going to talk about dating our friends' exes.
Yeah.
Which is
we'll lighten it up a little bit more today. We've had a heavy couple of weeks.
Yeah, we're like lighting it back up the next 2 weeks. And I'm glad we're talking about this because when it was romantic propaganda with me and Devon, I always wanted to cover a lot of the stuff we talked about with Rachel because I think it's nice to have that female perspective, and it's a great dynamic. And from what I've been getting from everyone, they say they love our show and they love our dynamic.
Oh, thanks, guys.
I've even been told that it's great the way I give you the floor, and it's a nice.
Give you the floor? What do you mean?
Like to talk, and I just give you the floor. When you want to say something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, when you want to say something, I'm like, yeah, Rachel, go ahead. And I've been commended the way I give you the floor.
Oh, okay.
Which is cool.
Got it. Yeah.
That's how it should be.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Some people want to hear the woman talk. Some people want to hear the man talk.
Right. So, and we will be, for those of you who started with us, at the top of the year, we will be redoing a lot of those shows that Devon and I did, and this is one of them today. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it, to hear Rachel's perspective on dating friends' exes. Let's go. I'm going to let Rachel jump this one off. I'm going to get my pen and pad ready, guys, my pen and paper, cue card. So I can take some notes in case I hear something interesting.
Okay.
And we're going to have some fun. What time is it? Okay, cool.
All right. Should you date your friends' exes?
First of all, I say maybe.
It's not an answer.
I just talked to Crispy about this stuff, then I'm going to make a note. I'll go ahead, though.
Yeah, I have a lot to say about this because I did it once. I dated my best friend's ex, and I don't recommend it. A lot comes into play when you think about this subject, because, how old are you? How long were you with that person? How much did you love them, right? Is this someone you just want to date and screw around with, or is it actually the person you think you're going to marry, right? Like, there's a lot of factors that come into play.
Right.
So, I'll share my story, and then I'll kind of, and I've actually had friends date my exes too.
Interesting.
But yeah, so I'll kind of share both sides of the spectrum in my opinion on this. So when I was in my early 20s, so my ex from Boston that I lived with, he was actually one of my best friends from back home, her high school sweetheart. And, looking back, I shouldn't have done it because she always carried a torch for him. And I think deep down I knew that. Oh, okay. But she was still friends with him. And I think, she told me it was okay. But it wasn't okay. Because I think she didn't want to really openly admit that because I think, that would have been embarrassing for her, right? For him to know that she still carried a torch for him from high school when it seemed like, he had moved on. And B...
She was uncomfortable with you dating him.
Yeah. And right. I think B, she did know that, we had a thing for each other, and I think she didn't want to prevent me from living that out and seeing where that could go.
Right. That was unselfish of her, though.
Yeah, yeah. I think
That's a weird laugh, Rachel. What happened?
I think she might have thought she was going to be okay with it,
Right.
but she wasn't. And it turned into a very messy situation where, there were some things that were done to like try to come in between my relationship with him. It ended up blowing up.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it wasn't good. I don't know. It's a tough call. I feel like I should have known better, right? Because I think deep down I always knew that would bother her. But if somebody's telling you it's okay, go date him, and you really like this person, you want to do it. On the flip side of that, I don't know. I think you end up hurting that person. But if you don't date them, I think you always wonder, what if? Right?
Yeah.
If I said to him, you know what, I think it's going to bother her, I always would have wondered, what if he was the one?
Yeah.
You don't know. So it's such a tough call. I think everything played out exactly the way that it should have, because it actually forced her in the end, when everything blew up, to tell me how she really felt. And it took a long time. She told him some things about me that she shouldn't have, and I called her out on it, and we didn't talk for a very long time.
Wow.
And when we finally did, it was stupid. It was like I went to a concert and kissed some singer in a band. You know what I mean? It was like very innocent, but she told him. And
just to cause a rift.
Yeah, and he called me and was like, "Did you kiss some guy in a band?" She told me she did. She has pictures of it, and I was like, "Dude, why would you tell him that?"
Oh my goodness!
And it blew up.
Did you take pictures of it too?
Because, it was my birthday, and it was my favorite singer, so I was like, let's take a picture. And as we were taking the picture, he kissed me. So, yeah, she had pictures of it.
Yeah, it wasn't like intentional. Let me take this picture and show him.
But it was intentional showing him, yeah.
Right.
But I don't know. I think it ended up being a good thing, because once everything came to a head, I remember I said, like, you told him this about me, and that's not okay. And she said, you got with the first love of my life. You as my best friend, rule number 1 broken. And I was like, finally, like, that's all you had to say this whole time, and I wouldn't have dated him. So, but it caused a rift in our friendship for a long time. And honestly, it wasn't really until she met her husband, and she like found God, and she got very religious, and she finally apologized to me. This was years and years later. Yeah. But she said, Rach, it was my own insecurities. But I apologized too, because I said, you know what? At the end of the day, I shouldn't have done that too, and I should have known better. So I think it really caused us to communicate, because she and I are both people who don't like confrontation. Yeah. So we just kind of avoid the subject. So that was, I think, her way of dealing with it, was, doing other things to make it known that she was upset. So, in that case, I think people need to go with their intuition, right? If you feel like this is not going to be, like, this person I think is going to be upset about this, and if your gut is really telling you that, because I should have known, like, she loved this guy. I mean, he broke her heart in high school. She had to call, I remember she didn't go to school for like a few days, like she was very, very devastated, and she stayed friends with him, and I think we all kind of knew that she still, like, would always love him. I think he was really her first love. So I don't know, it's a catch.
But here's the thing.
It's catch-22.
If I could jump in real quick.
Yeah.
To me, this is how I feel about this. This is how I honestly feel about this subject. To me, everyone has an ex, right?
Yeah.
And, and everyone has to move on, right? So just because, why is it okay if I don't happen to know the ex, or if I know the ex? You know what I mean? And one example I gave Crispy, I said, listen, what if one day you had a gas station? Let's say you and I dated. We had a great relationship. It lasted a year or two, and for whatever reason it broke up. And I moved to wine country. 2 years later, you're not around. You don't know anyone here, and you and your friends come to Miramont and go wine taste, and you happen to run into Chris. And I told him about you once. My ex-girlfriend from Santa Monica. And you meet at wine country and click, and I found out a week later it's my ex. I don't see anything wrong with that. But you know what I'm saying? You met organically without me, not even knowing. I go, man, Crispy, that's the girl I was talking about who I was in love with.
Well, that's why I'm saying
and we broke up and I moved.
It's circumstantial.
Yeah, and
it depends on.
Man, she has to have an ex. You're a great guy.
Right.
Go for it.
But it comes down to like how good of friends are you with that person? How much did you love that person? And it's kind of a little like what we were talking about with the open marriage thing, where some people have a possession.
See,
even of their exes too.
I'm with you, but in this case, I'm not tripping. Matter of fact, people have met some of my exes and are like, "Man, you mind if I take a crack?" I'm like, "Go ahead."
Right.
I don't care. Like, but she has to have an ex. She has to have a new.
Well, and like, how recent was the breakup? You know what I mean? So, like, because I think
obviously if it's recent, I don't mean to cut you.
Right.
Obviously if it's recent, everyone's a little odd, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think what it comes down to, and you got to realize too, like, we're in a big city, right? Like, there's more people. I think there's less of a chance of that happening here. But I grew up in a very small town, so it's sort of like everybody at some point dates someone's ex or hooks up with someone's ex. And I had lost friends over it in high school. You know what I mean? Like, because you have a small pool to choose from, so it's sort of inevitable, I think.
That's how it is here in wine country. Everybody knows everybody.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So I mean that sort of circumstance is sort of inevitable, but to flip it, I had an ex, also my hometown area. I was like 18, but I think what it comes down to too is how much do you love that like how much did you love that person? Is this someone you just dated because you felt like having a boyfriend, or is this someone who you will probably always love, right? Because that's the difference. Like this guy, I just wanted a boyfriend. Like I was never really in love with him. It was sort of like after high school, all my friends had boyfriends. I just kind of wanted a boyfriend. And after we broke up, a few years later, he hooked up with two of my friends, and I was like, go for it. But the difference is that I think because I was never really in love with him. Right. If this was like my last ex, who I haven't talked to in almost 2 years, no, I'd kill you. Because he's probably the one I loved the most out of everybody I've ever been with. And no. Because I don't want to, not only do I not even want to see him. I don't want to see him with this new girl he's even with who I don't know. So if it's a friend of yours, you got to see them all the time. Right. Because I'm not.
It could make for a sticky situation if we're out having drinks or dancing.
Yeah, I'm not. I think sometimes it can take you maybe, I think, years to get over somebody. Yeah. Sometimes you never do. My mom, I don't think, is still over my dad. Like she'll never get over it. So there's sometimes those, like the ones that will always have your heart. That you can't do it. So I think he was probably that one for me. And maybe years from now, I'll probably feel different. But even now, I'm like, it's been almost 2 years since I've talked to him, and I'm still nowhere ready to ever see him with somebody else. Wow. So it's those type of circumstances too. Because when I dated my friend's ex, it had been like 10 years. I mean, they dated in high school, and she was like, "No, Rach, it's fine. It's been like 10 years." Yeah. But it still wasn't fine because she still loved him. I think she probably loved him until she met her husband, honestly.
Yeah. And it's funny, you actually make a good point, because I guess when you say it like that, Rach, I guess it really doesn't matter if it's someone you know or someone you don't know. If you still have that affinity for that person, it's gonna bother you.
Yes.
Either way.
But if it's
I think it's okay, even if you were in love with the person, if you've organically moved on in a healthy way, I think in my perspective, then it doesn't matter whether it's someone I know or I don't know.
But if it's
you know what I mean?
If it's a friend, though, I think it's worse because then you would have to see that person with your friend.
Yep. On top of you not being okay with it, you have to see it.
Yeah, and that's what I feel badly about, because she would hang out with him and I all the time, and now looking back, I'm like, God, that probably killed her. Because she still, I think, somewhere in her heart, had a thing, still loved him. Right. And that must have probably killed her a little bit to see him with me. It's like part of me wishes that she was honest about it, because I would never want to hurt somebody else. But part of me is also like, well, I'm glad I at least went through the experience of dating him and knew that he wasn't it. You know, he wasn't my husband. It didn't work out. Yeah, because you always wonder. You're always going to wonder what if.
Yeah.
And we talked about it years later, and it was fine, but it took a long time to get to that point.
That's crazy. So do you think when she met the husband, she was really over it, or that circumstance just took her mind off of it?
It actually...
Do you really think meeting someone else could make you go, oh, forget the ex?
Yeah.
You think?
Yeah, because she actually had a boyfriend... The whole time I was dating my ex and after, she was on and off with the guy for 8 years. But the thing is, he didn't treat her well because he was a recovering drug addict. You know, he was struggling. And so he just didn't treat her like he wasn't a good boyfriend. Okay. And so I think she saw that my ex treated me very well. And she wasn't, you know, I think she didn't feel good about her own relationship. So that played a big part of it. Because even after my ex and I broke up, like she was still in his, you know, still in my ex's life. They were still friendly. They probably hooked up a little bit. Who knows?
I was just about to ask you that. What about hooking up with exes just on a hookup? Like, I know y'all not together. I've always wanted to have sex with you, but I don't want to say too much. I don't want them to not. Like,
I think it's kind of the same.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, how would you feel about it if someone was like, you know, you and Rachel are not together anymore. I've always wanted to go, let's just hook up once. I mean, she doesn't have to find out. Blah, blah, blah.
I think it's the same thing. Like, if it's any of my other exes that I don't care about, go for it. Knock yourself out.
Right.
If it's my recent ex that I still love and I don't know how long I will love him for, you know, then no. But my guess is once I meet somebody else that's so much better for me, I'm not going to feel like that about my ex anymore. You know what I mean? Because I'm going to be like, I met someone else who's way better for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, that really didn't happen for her until she met her husband.
Right. So my crazy ex that I was with here, the dentist chick, that's what happened when we broke up. She was like, you know, I don't want to follow you on social media anymore. She blocked me from everything. And I go, why? I said, you're still on social media with your ex that you were with for 7 years. She goes, but I didn't love him the way I love you. I don't want to see anything you're doing.
Right.
I was like,
yeah.
And I wasn't even on that page. I'm like, I don't care.
I'm social media friends with.
Stay friends with. Yeah, that's what I said.
With the ex that I didn't love.
Yeah, see, and I have no problem with you.
My ex that I did love, we're not social media friends.
Yeah, see, because you don't want to see it.
Right. I still look.
But see, that goes into the thing when Jason and Aubrey was here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
It's an ex and you still don't want you know what I mean? See how deep it goes?
Oh, yeah.
You see how deep it goes?
Oh, totally.
It's crazy. And see, there's a producer I know in Hollywood that I'm not friends with them, but he's friends with this couple. And he told me this story years ago of these two people that met, right? They hadn't seen each other in years. And they always known of each other and this, that, and the other. And when they met, they instantly knew they were with the wrong people and switched.
Wow.
And both remarried to the people that they introduced each other to, and they've been together for years.
It's like a movie.
You see what I'm saying?
But what I was going to say, though, as far as my ex and feeling bothered that he was with somebody new and, you know, that feeling of that possession, right? I think the reason I felt that way is because, you know, going back to what we talked about with Jason and Aubrey, is there wasn't the truth and the honesty there. He didn't tell me he met someone else. Because that was my big thing. He just disappeared and just dated this girl. And, like, I found it on social media after 4 years, and that's why I was really upset. Had he told me, if he said, listen, I met this girl, you know, let's have a conversation right now because I feel like we've been doing this weird thing for years and we're not going to be together. If he actually really talked to me about her, and just said, listen, I think she could be a good match. She's into fitness. I'm going to go out with her. I think we should maybe stop talking. That's all I wanted.
Right.
Then I wouldn't have social media stalked them for years.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair.
Because it's all about communication and it's all about honesty. And even if it's an uncomfortable conversation, that's what relationships are made of. And honestly, that's one of the reasons we broke up, because he couldn't communicate. Right? And didn't know how to have those conversations. So that's what hurt me so much. It's not so much about him being with somebody else, it's that he couldn't talk to me about it. Right. You know?
And then better if he talked to you about it.
Yeah. And same with my friend when I dated her ex, same thing. It's like she wasn't honest with me about her feelings, and that really hurt me because I wish she had told me how she felt. You know, I think it would have been a better situation, even though it's hard. It's hard to say that because then you feel stupid. Yeah. Right? But I will say, though, I think, you know, every situation is different. But I think if you're gonna date your friend's ex, I mean, you should do it if you think that they are the one. You know, if you really think, honestly, in your heart, because I did at one point think my ex in Boston was like we were going to be and get married and everything. If you think there's a possibility that they're your person, they're your partner, they're the person you're going to end up with, you can do it. But be prepared that you might lose that friendship or you might sacrifice that friendship. Because she and I didn't talk for like a year when all that was going on.
And the safe way to go about it is discuss it, right? Say, hey, kind of feeling your ex. Is it okay? You have a problem with it? And if they have a problem with it, then you go, okay.
Well, she said no, but then it was the actions said yes, and she finally did.
And that's a fine line.
But it was like, you know, a year and a half later, and I was like, man, why did you say this when it all started, you know?
Because honestly, if someone comes to me and goes, hey, man, I ran into so-and-so, I know it's your ex, you know, we kind of had a great conversation, I'd really like to take out of your care. If someone came to me like that, I'd probably be like, all right, man, thanks.
Yeah.
That's honorable. You have no problem.
Do you have any exes that would bother you? That you still, you know, have maybe a little something for?
Not one.
No. That's good.
Not one.
Good.
I swear. Is that bad, Rach?
No. I think it's healthy.
Not one. I'd be like, go right ahead, brother. I think it's great. As a matter of fact, I've even asked one of my exes for one of my friends here. She was like, nah, I'm not into him. Yeah. And I think she was kind of taken aback that I was okay with it. I was like, hey, someone's kind of feeling you. You want to? And she was like, no. It was just funny.
Yeah.
She's like, no, I don't see him anything other than just your friend. I was like, oh, okay. But he was into her, though.
Okay.
But I was cool.
But I think, too, I think it depends, too, on, like, if they broke up with you or if you like I heard this once that if somebody breaks up with you, you always kind of have a thing for them. And I can see that because like most exes that I've been with, I broke up with them because I just was tired of it, you know. It's just like I wasn't into it anymore. But my recent one, I mean I did actually break up with him too, but I still loved him. And
the one in Anaheim?
And I was still really attracted to him. He just wasn't it, you know. He wasn't my person. So I think that comes into play too. It's like if you break up and you're like done with that person, you're like, yeah, good, go have them.
Yeah. You know? Right. Then it's cool. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times, people. I mean, I've heard of girlfriends falling out because of them sleeping with.
I have a friend from high school that still doesn't. She hasn't talked to me since high school.
Yeah. And
I actually feel terrible about it to this day.
And girls are more catty in that respect. Guys, we don't like mess with each other's girls behind.
They will hold grudges forever. She was also a Scorpio too. Right. So yeah, you don't cross a Scorpio, they'll kill you.
It's interesting how women do that more than men. Like I've heard more stories of women sleeping with their friend's guy than the other way around. Yeah. Way more stories of that. Yeah.
Because women are just desperate for like attentions and relationships and, you know, all of that.
So they'll quicker do that. And even though guys are more physical, I think we just try to respect those lines a little more in some cases, probably.
Yeah. I had a friend from high school that I was also friends with her boyfriend too. Like I was really good friends with both of them, but I did have a crush on him. And when they broke up, she broke up with him actually, and I like got drunk and slept with him at a party, and she found out. And to this day, she has not talked to me. We had it out on the phone, and I apologized, and I said, you know, you broke up with him. I thought you didn't want to be with him anymore. But she was like, but you were supposed to be my friend. And I was a jerk. Like I shouldn't have hooked up with this guy. I was also 18, you know, it's like you're a teenager and you're an idiot. You're young, but to this day I regret it because I'm like, I don't even talk to that guy anymore. And I get upset when I see her stuff on Facebook because I'm like, I can't even add her on Facebook because like she has this cute daughter and everything, and everyone else is friends with her from my hometown but me. And I'm like, I can't even add her because I was a jerk and I slept with her ex and she hates me. And I hate that stuff. Some girls are forgiving. I will say my ex in Boston that my best friend was upset about, he had a girlfriend after her for 8 years, like through high school and college. They had a kid, and she was very upset when I got with him. I wasn't good friends with her or anything. We had hung out sometimes. And she was nuts over him. Like, she was trying to get him back with the whole time we were together, everything. I mean, hated me. But you know what? I will give her credit. After we broke up and I moved out here, she actually sent me a really nice message on Facebook, and she was like, she bought sound bites, and she was like, I bought sound bites and I read it and I really loved it, and everything with us is water under the bridge. And like, I see her now at bars when I go home, and we're cool, we're hanging out, and like, she's great. So some people can take it better than others. You know, some will hold on to that till the day they die.
Right. I'm trying to think if I've ever liked any of my friends' exes or girls.
I don't know. Well, it's challenging if you have the same type. Because that was my friend from high school. We always fought over guys in high school because we had the same type.
Mm-hmm. Have I ever liked any of my exes' girls? Probably not. I mean, I've seen current like colleagues with girls, you know, in the past, and I'm like, damn, his girl is bad.
Yeah.
That's it.
But we have a lot of. It's so different out here because I mean, we have so many more options. I mean, my hometown has like 20,000 people. But there was like 100 people in my grade.
But they say that it's best to meet and date in your social circle. You see what I'm saying?
What did I say? You meet people through friends or through work.
Right. See, so. Does that exclude exes? Like, you know what I mean? Like, aren't they up for grabs too once they break up?
Well, I mean, that's why I look at all like those teen drama shows that did so well, like 90210. They all they're all incestuous. They all date each other. Right. You know, because it's all, you're this hot group of people.
Because you're right there. It's like it's accessible.
But it's going back to what we talked about with working with coworkers. It's the level of comfortability that you establish with people. So when you're friends with people. And that's why, like, sometimes people will date their ex's brother, or, you know, after my dad left my stepmom, her best friend now is my dad's brother, my uncle. Like, they became like best friends to the point that my dad's new wife is like, are they dating? And I'm like, no, but they do talk all the time. Right. Yeah, because you establish that level of comfortability. And it kind of, the guard comes down and the walls come down, and then you're like, oh, I'm kind of attracted to this person. Yeah. Right. So that can happen. I understand it completely, how people can date their, you know, your sister's ex or your friend's ex.
Icky situation. But again, Bob listens, it doesn't bother me. I'm not that guy. Even if I was madly in love with her, she has to move on. And even if it's with someone I know, I honestly don't have a problem with it.
Over time.
I just don't see it.
Over time.
Yeah,
not right away.
Not next month.
Right.
Because I'm like, you know, you can give yourself a chance to like heal a little bit.
Right. No. I think it's got to be at least a few years.
I don't have a problem with it, and I respect those that do have a problem with it. I'm not, you know, everyone has their thing. You know, I'm not knocking anyone for having a problem with it, but I know for me, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Some people are territorial of their exes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know.
But I think ultimately, even if you do have a problem with it, eventually, you know, if you meet somebody who you're supposed to be with, I don't think that should be an issue anymore.
Right.
You know,
because what if, which is what happened with this producer's friends. What if, you know, the person you're with is someone else's soulmate and you don't even know it.
Right.
Well, the person you're with is your friend's soulmate.
Right.
And you were just meant to be the vessel for them to meet.
Right. You don't know.
But a lot of times people are not that spiritual and intuitive.
No.
They don't really get into stuff like that.
Or selfless, right? Because you should want to look out for not only your own happiness, but somebody else's. Because everyone has their own path.
Yeah. What if it's like that and you guys are so closed off? You're like, no, you can't talk to him or her. That's my ex.
Yeah, it's possession, which stems from fear, which stems from insecurity.
We can just tell that there's something there. Like we're vibing. Like,
I'm the one who sets everybody up with their husbands. I'm like, I want everyone to be happy. Like, who's gonna set me up already? I'm waiting. You know, like, no one's hooking me up with anybody, but I'm looking out for all of you.
You have the wherewithal to hook yourself up. That's probably why.
What's that?
You probably because you have the wherewithal to hook yourself up. You know what I mean? You have those dynamics that they don't possess, which is why it's easy for you to share with them. Yeah. But it's hard for them to share with you.
I know. It'd be nice if somebody hooked me up for one. No, I did actually have a friend that hooked me up with my ex, the one out here. And I didn't know that, you know, because I was always like, I feel like no one could set me up. Like, I don't even know what my type is. But he did. He did a good job for a while. See? Yeah.
There you go.
It can happen. But yeah, you just never know, because sometimes Sometimes you're meant to be with people for only so long.
Yep, that's true. I was just telling someone the other day, sometimes we mistaken temporary situations for permanent ones.
Yeah.
And you have to know when it's supposed to be temporary and when it's supposed to be permanent.
And maybe they're for somebody else. Because that's what I always think. Like, as sad as I was about my ex, I would always think when I meet the person I'm supposed to be with, I'm going to be like, thank God I did not end up with him.
Yeah.
You know?
That's funny.
It's really true. And I'm getting there now that I've been meeting some new people that are much better.
Right.
I'm like, oh yeah, this is going to be great.
Right. You don't have a problem. Right?
Yeah.
I highly doubt it.
But they say, you know, because I read like one of those quotes recently. I'm usually not a quote person on Instagram, but once in a while you read one and you're like, oh yeah, that speaks to me.
That speaks to you.
And there was one that says, you know, if you're uncomfortable, you know, if you're going through change and you're uncomfortable and you're unhappy, keep going because it's a sign of positive change.
Right.
You know, on the other side of that is where you're supposed to be. You know, something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing.
Right.
And I went, yes, I'm going through all of this crap. Because on the other side of it, I'm going to come out and I'm going to be with somebody who's much better for me. But you have to go through those feelings.
Absolutely. I agree with that. I always say, every person you're with prepares you for the person you're supposed to be with.
Yes, because in every relationship you learn what you want and what you don't want.
Yep, that's
you know,
right.
and you learn about yourself.
That's right.
Yeah, I think,
true story.
Yeah.
True story.
Yeah.
Is that it?
I think that's it.
Nothing else to say?
That's all I had to say.
On Dating Friends. Is that Yeah, I think I'm good too. No, I think we covered it. We made some good points. I think people could walk away from this going, okay, let me think about
so
this.
Guys, if you're going to do it, have an honest conversation with your friend.
I think that's what the takeaway is.
Or they should have one with you.
Definitely. Keep it open and honest.
Yep.
That's what I think.
That's the takeaway. And only do it if you really think this man or woman is it for you. If you really think there's potential there for them to be your person. Don't do it for a hookup. Don't jeopardize your friendship if that's someone who means something to you.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think people need to be more open with it too, because
you don't possess anyone.
Could be better off with your friend, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And even though they were your ex, don't be all closed off about it. Like we're saying, be open.
Yeah.
And that's the takeaway for today.
Because you want to be selfless and you want the best for everyone.
Exactly.
Because then you're going to get the best for you, right?
Exactly.
Because you get what you put out there.
Exactly. One more time. It's Relationships, Romance, and Propaganda podcast with Imani, Shakur, and Rachel K. Burke. And we will see you next week, next Monday.
Bye,
Have
guys.
a good one. Peace.